My name is Hansjörg Eberle. I'm one of the original founders of FSD. I have been working for FSD for more than 27 years. First, only part-time, because I was actually doing another job and we were not paid. And for the last bit more than 20 years as an employee of FSD. So my role has been for the last 2 decades to be the managing director. I spent about 12 years working for ICRC, and I have seen myself in victims for war wounded, to what degree mines can maim civilians, rip off limbs, lost eyes, lost fingers, lost hands. I've myself assisted to amputations that were done by surgeons, and I was just giving a hand. And in those days, ICRC did a lot to help victims of mine accidents. But in those days, ICRC was not willing to engage in demining. Actually, 30 years ago, no organization was willing to do demining. Everybody thought it's just a military task. And when we realized that the militaries of the world typically are also not set up for demining, they're just set up for mining, but the cleanup is not really part of their task. We thought there is maybe a need for an organization who bridges the gap between the two areas and clears mine as a preventive measure so that people will not have accidents. The aim of FSD is just to clear landmines, clear unexploded ordnance of war so that civilians don't get hurt. We actually deal with the explosive dangers. This is very often a first step that is needed before any other humanitarian actors can intervene. When it started, it was really about 1997, when there was another guy working for ICRC, Michel Dio. He was a logistician. He left ICRC and he spoke in the radio about the Kosovo refugees in Switzerland that were supposed to return to their country. Michel Dio spoke on the radio and said, why don't we train them in demining before we send them home, because Kosovo is mined. And many people reacted to it. I was one of those reacting to it, and I said, Michel, let's discuss. And there was Henri Leu, also a lawyer here in Geneva, who also said, hey, let's discuss. So basically pretty soon it was the three of us that started discussing these issues. Well, what can we do practically about demining? That's how it started, but that's now a long time ago. So it was just a private citizen initiative by concerned citizens here in Geneva. That's what it was. There was no political motive to it. And now 25, 30 years later, we see it's a mid-sized NGO that is recognized for the professional approach and for the results. Generally speaking, I'm very proud that this idea, this loose idea of almost 30 years ago has developed into a real-world organization that has some staying power and has proved now over more than 2 decades that they can provide services that are urgently needed. Certainly, it gives meaning to my professional life. It's certainly a reason why I have remained highly motivated up to the age of retirement, whereas I have many friends in other professions who can't say that. But then more specifically, I think I'm very proud that we have kept the line of having FSD as a neutral but technical humanitarian organization. That's the only way. It's only through our technical credibility as deminers. We are just here to do the job. We are not here to teach you unless you ask us for it. We are not here to lecture you unless you ask us for it. We are not here to give advice unless you want our advice. But we are here to use our expertise to reduce the danger of explosive remnants of war for the civilians.